Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday today. Welcome back to another episode of High Octane Cards. This is episode 2 of the 1989 Maxx series, cards number 101 through 220. Our last video, we reviewed the cards number 1 through 100. Again, rapid fire form on this. We're going to go through the cards rather quickly and focus on a handful of the driver cards and higher profile cards. So we'll start with card number 101. This is the 88 year in review. This is Richard Petty's accident in the Daytona 500. Richard did walk away from this crash. Another 88 year in review card, the race at Richmond. This is race number 2. These are the race review cards. There you see Dale Earnhardt leading Neil Bonnet. Race number 3, Rockingham. Neil Bonnet wins this race. Race number 4 in Atlanta. Race number 5 in Darlington. Lake Speed wins his first career race. Race number 6, this was in Bristol, Tennessee. Bill Elliott wins his first career short track race. I was there at this event. Bill actually spun in the last 10 laps of the event and went on to win the race. Number 7, race number 7 of 88, North Wilkesboro. There you see Bill Elliott and Kenny Schrader, the first two cars in the picture. Dale Earnhardt wins at Martinsville in 1988 for race number 8 of the season. Race number 9 at Talladega, Phil Parsons wins his first career race. Race number 10, I believe this is the Coke 600. Yes, it is, Coke 600. Tires were the major issue of this race. There was a tire war in 1988, Hoosier versus Goodyear. There were several blisters, and several drivers were actually injured in this race. Race number 11 at Dover. Bill Elliott won this race. Race number 12. This is a historic event. This is the last race at the Riverside International Raceway for NASCAR. Rusty Wallace wins this race. Race number 13. Pocono, Pennsylvania. This is the last race of Bobby Allison's career. You see his car in the background. The car with the Linro decal on the hood, that's Giacomo who T-boned Bobby on the first lap of this race. Davey stopping to check on the condition of his father. But Bobby was critically injured in this race and would never go on to race in NASCAR again. Race number 14 at Michigan, won by Rusty Wallace. Race 15, a photo finish between Bill Elliott and Rick Wilson for the Pepsi 400 at Daytona. Race 16, the second race of the year at Pocono, won by Bill Elliott. The Talladega 500, race number 17, Ken Schrader wins his first career race. Race number 18, Watkins Glen, won by Ricky Rudd, the first win for Kenny Bernstein as a car owner. Race number 19, another race that I was at, Davey Allison won his first race of the year. This was also his uncle Donnie Allison, final career start in NASCAR. Race number 20, Bristol, Dale Earnhardt wins this race. There you see Alan Kulwicki and Mark Martin making up the front row. This is the Bristol night race, of course. Race number 21, Southern 500 at Darlington. This race was won by Bill Elliott. Race number 12, this was at the newly reconfigured Richmond Fairgrounds Raceway, rechristened as Richmond International Raceway, won by Davey Allison. Bill sweeps Dover in 1988. This is race 23. 24 at Martinsville. Darrell Waltrip wins this race for the second win of his year. Race number 25 at Charlotte. Rusty wins this race. Race 26, North Wilkesboro. This was a very exciting finish with Rusty Wallace and Jeff Bodine dueling hard on the last lap, with Rusty winning the race. Race number 27 at Rockingham. I believe Rusty wins this race if memory serves me correct. Yes. This is the first NASCAR Cup Series race at Phoenix, the next to last race of the 1988 season, won by Alan Kulwicki for his first career Cup Series win. And the final race of 1988 in Atlanta, Georgia, Bill wins the championship, Rusty wins the race. This was the All-Star Race from 1988, also just a season review card. Terry Labonte won the All-Star Race this year. Now we have brother cards, Benny Parsons and Phil Parsons. Now we're going to start to get into some Busch Series drivers. Tommy Houston, whose son Andy Houston is a spotter for Richard Childress Racing. Tommy was a longtime Busch Series competitor. Kenny Bernstein, we mentioned him earlier. He owned the 26 Quaker State car. Jack Roush, longtime car owner. Robbie Moroso. Robbie was the 1990 Cup Series Rookie of the Year, the 1989 Busch Series champion, killed in a highway accident that was his fault. You will need to Google that one to find out the story behind that. Les Richter, former NASCAR official, but Les also played for the Los Angeles Rams back in the 60s. Dick Beatty, former competition director for NASCAR. Harold Kinder, longtime flagman. Skipped card. Checklist. Darrell and Michael Waltrip, brother card. Now we have some victory lane shots. Bobby in Daytona in '88, his final career win. Neil Bonnet in Richmond, the first win for Hoosier Tire. Back-to-back wins for Neil at Rockingham. Dale Earnhardt winning at Atlanta for his first win of the year. I believe these cards, these cards have the complete running order on the back of the card, so if you're into statistics like I am, these are very handy cards if you're wanting to reference finishing positions, money won, laps completed, etc. Lake Speed, first career win, Darlington. Bill Elliott wins at Bristol. Terry Labonte won at North Wilkesboro. I believe I misspoke on the previous North Wilkesboro card and said Earnhardt won, but it was actually Terry Labonte. Earnhardt would win the '89 spring race at Wilkesboro, not the '88. Dale wins at Martinsville. Phil Parsons with his first win at Talladega. Darrell Waltrip in the Coke 600 win. Bill Elliott with his Dover win. There's Rusty with the last race win at Riverside. Jeff Bodine with his Pocono win. This was the race that Bobby Allison was critically injured in that ended his career. Rusty at Michigan. Bill at Daytona for the Pepsi 400. Again, this was the photo finish with Rick Wilson. Bill again at Pocono the following week. Ken Schrader with his first career win at Talladega. Ricky Rudd, again with the aforementioned Kenny Bernstein car owner first win. Davey Allison for his win at Michigan, his first win of the year. Dale wins at Bristol night race. Bill wins the Southern 500 for the second time in his career. He would go on to win it for a third time in 1994. Davey wins the reconfigured race at Richmond. The track was a half-mile fairgrounds raceway and was configured to the current configuration of 3/4 of a mile. Bill wins at Dover. Darrell Waltrip wins at Martinsville for the second year in a row. Rusty Wallace wins at Charlotte. One more small stack to go through. Rusty Wallace wins back-to-back races, this time at North Wilkesboro, and he's 3 in a row at Rockingham. Again, Alan Kwiecki winning his first career win at Phoenix, and Rusty wins again in Atlanta, and Bill wins the championship. This is the All-Star race, the Winston as it was known back then, Terry Labonte with his car owner Junior Johnson in Victory Lane. Sterling Marlin, who won the Open, the Winston Open, which was the prelude race to the Winston. The winner automatically transferred to the All-Star race. Now some more Busch Series drivers. Tommy Ellis, who was the 1988 Series champion. Billy Hagan, who was Sterling Marlin's car owner during this time. Rod Osterlund, who owned Hut Strickland's car, the Heinz 57 car. Former Busch Series driver and now Monster Energy Cup Series official Elton Sawyer. Robert Yates, recent Hall of Fame inductee, owned Davey Allison's car at the time. Ed Barrier, longtime journeyman driver in the Busch Series. He did run some Cup races as well. Won one race at Hickory in 1998. Kenny Wallace, younger brother of Rusty Wallace. Kenny is a former ASA Rookie of the Year and was second runner-up to Jeff Gordon for Cup Rookie of the Year in '93, and he was also a Cup Series crew chief in 1984 for Joe Ruttman. Joe Henry Thurman, longtime Busch Series competitor. Father-son card with Bobby and Davey Allison. And in 1989, Maxx did a Legends series that was within the set, and these are some really nice cards. They have a gray background. They look almost like they're scrapbooked onto the card. But these are some legends of some cars and some drivers back in the day. There you see Richard Petty's Plymouth Superbird that he ran back in the early 70s. Smokey Yunick, longtime car builder. I believe that is Ralph Moody. Yeah, Ralph Moody, who later would team with John Holman to form Holman Moody. Here's Donnie Allison, Bobby's brother and Davey's uncle. Looks like Marvin Panch and maybe Johnny Allen. Fred Lorenzen, who is the first driver to win over $100,000 in single season winnings. Wendell Scott. Curtis Turner, killed in a plane crash in 1970. With golf pro Clarence King. Here's the old Asheville-Weaverville Speedway in 1956. Dirt tracks were big in the era that time of NASCAR. Chris Economaki interviewing Junior Johnson. Darrell Derringer. Marvin Panch again. Marvin was a longtime competitor for the Wood brothers back in the 60s. First race at Charlotte in 1960, won by Joe Lee Johnson. 600-mile race. Race of attrition. Silver Fox David Pearson won 105 NASCAR Cup Series races to his career, second only to Richard Petty. Talladega in 1970. This was, of course, the year after the famous Talladega boycott of '69. There are a few YouTube videos out there about that, so look that up. That's an interesting story. Tim Flock, one of the famous Flock brothers, along with his brothers Fonte. And I'm drawing a blank on the third Flock brother. Sorry about that. Fireball Roberts. Bobby Isaac passed away in the mid-70s of a heart attack after a short track race. Not a Cup Series race, but just a short track race. I believe it was at Hickory. Bob Flock was the third Flock brother I was thinking of, so it was Tim, Bob, and Fonte Flock. Wood Brothers in 1967. The Wood Brothers team continues this day with driver Paul Menard and will continue next year with Matt DiBenedetto driving their cars. Gentleman Ned. This is the father of current NBC broadcaster Dale Jarrett. But Ned raced in the 50s and 60s and retired in 1966 as a driver. Iron Man Jack Ingram, two-time Busch Series champion. Brothers Brett and Jeff Bodine. Elmo Langley, former pace car driver. But at this time, he was working for Cale Yarborough Motorsports. You see the Hardee's uniform there. Steve Grissom, former Busch Series champion in 1993. Ronald Cooper, who has one Busch Series win. Morgan McClure, team from Abington, Virginia. This was the team that Rick Wilson drove for at the time. Ronnie Silver, veteran driver of the Busch Series, 2 career wins. Jimmy Spencer, during his early NASCAR career. Ben Hess, journeyman driver to race Cup, Busch, ARCA, and pretty much whenever he could get a ride. Another brother card here, Kenny, a young Kenny, and Rusty Wallace. Former team owner Bob Whitcomb, who won the 1990 Daytona 500 with Derek Cope. Billy Standridge, independent driver of the time. Glenn Wood, who passed away earlier this year. Rest in peace, Glenn. L.D. Ottinger, former late model sportsman and Busch Series driver. David Pearson, who was the car owner for his son Larry during his Winston Cup days. Patty Moise, who is the wife of Elton Sawyer and was the first husband and wife to compete at a national level on any professional sport. Another checklist. Down to the final few cards. 1990 Busch Series champion Chuck Bown. Jimmy Hensley, popular driver from Virginia. And the final card of the set, another father-son card with Kyle and Richard Petty. This concludes the 1989 Maxx set review. And once again, if we get to 100 subscribers, when we get to 100 subscribers, I will be giving away this Tony Stewart 1998 VIP rookie card. Very attractive card to add to any collection. So please like this video, subscribe, throw me a follow on Twitter @HalleyEmery. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good day.